Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ask the Doggy Experts Live. My name is Andrew Frazier, and I am here with our co-host, Jessica, and one of our guests here, Shannon, who is a certified canine fitness trainer here at DogiZone. And we are excited to have all of us here together tonight. I'm sure will be the most entertaining thing that you see all night. For those of you that I'm sure have been glued to the news today. So we're excited to have you and to be a distraction for you of all the craziness that's going on in the world. So we will go ahead and dive in here shortly. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great, Andrew. I had a really good long day at work today. Got to meet a lot of awesome puppies for evaluation. So super, super good day for me.
Awesome. Awesome. And Shannon, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great as well. Also spent the day at DogiZone training dogs, working hard, so ready to go.
Very good. Yeah, that little red puppy that you had today, I was like starstruck when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, dog's so cute. Anyways, well, look, this week we're going to be discussing fitness for your dog and puppy, weight loss tips for your dog. And I know some of you, your dogs are in great shape, but we want to help you keep them that way. We're also going to discuss puppy problem prevention because we know a bunch of you got puppies during Christmas time. So we want to make sure that we get you guys some good tips to make sure that we keep you on track. And if we have enough time here, we'll even talk about grooming your dog at home and how you can do that with a little bit more success than you might think that you can have. So we will, Jessica, do you have some something you want to add here?
I do, Andrew. I wanted to tell everyone, if you know someone with a dog who can benefit from hearing about one of the topics that Andrew mentioned, we would love it if you would invite them to join us tonight so we can help you help them. And go ahead and hit share on this. Don't forget to hit like as well. We'd love to be able to have as many people join us tonight.
That is absolutely awesome. I'm excited for tonight. You know, we have Shannon on here, a new face. We obviously miss having George, but Shannon has, you know, she took the plunge with me and one of our other team members, Jen, a few months back, and we went and got certified as canine fitness trainers. Now, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, a few years ago, I would have laughed when somebody told me that there was a certification to become a fitness trainer for dogs. And my opinion's really changed quite a bit since I've gone through the program and seen all the benefits from it. So I'm excited to have you here, Shannon. And you know, I'd love to just, you know, kind of help our audience here understand what is fitness for your dog, because you know, this is the time of the year, like we're all creating fitness goals for ourselves, right? I mean, it's not go to the gym this year. It's just like, don't sit at home, walk around the house like 32 times a day, right? We're coming up with ways that we can try to keep ourselves fit. But what we a lot of the time forget about is how important that is for our dogs. And, you know, people, I know our clients love their dogs. Like they want them to live as long as they possibly can. And so, you know, I find it interesting that we don't put a bigger focus on this when we know that improving our own fitness helps us live a longer life, and improving our dog's fitness certainly helps with that. So Shannon, maybe you could take a second to just talk a little bit about like, what is fitness? How is it beneficial? And why is it that something that any dog can benefit from?
Right. So you kind of hit the nail on the head. That was a point that I was going to make, is like, we have to take it into consideration that we do these things for ourselves, keep ourselves happy, healthy, and fit, doing all of those things. So it should be the same for your dog. Fitness is all about keeping them healthy, keeping them challenged, both mentally and physically through fitness. Fitness we use as a preventative measure to keep them in shape so they'll be less likely to suffer from injury, weight loss, unnecessary weight loss, things like that can really put stress on the body. And the focus is really just prolonging the lives of our friends. Like, we love our dogs, they're family to us and things like that. So creating a plan for them, keeping them exercise and things like that can keep them happy and healthy.
So Shannon, maybe you can hit on, like, when we talk about doing fitness with dogs, like some people think that walking their dog is providing their dog a fitness workout. And while it is exercising your dog to take them for a walk through the neighborhood, maybe we can talk about, like, what are some of the exercises that we do as in our company to provide a more challenge to the dogs and to really help to target specific things.
Yeah, so those walks are good, but we can be doing a little bit more, right? So we actually have certain equipment that we use, inflatable peanuts and balancing things that really target the body in different ways. So working those joints and muscles, core strength, balance, proprioception, big words, but things like that. Just working on the body awareness of it all.
Yeah, and there's some different components to fitness that I think we tend to focus on, right, Shannon? So when we have a dog that's going to be evaluated for fitness, when we evaluate them, what we'll do is we'll evaluate them in a few different areas. You want to talk about maybe what are some of the different areas, and you don't have to go through all of them, because I know that our fitness evaluation, folks, is really it's a very comprehensive in what it is that we go through. But Shannon, maybe talk about what are some of the things that we evaluate from a fitness perspective when we first look at a dog.
Sure. So the first thing when you see a dog, you look at how their body's shaped, right? You look at kind of the top line, see how their back is arched, things like that. How they walk is really important. If their gait is kind of off, fitness can help to kind of correct that. We also look at how strong they are, what their, flexibility is looking like, different things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's the strength and flexibility, and we, looking at the cardio aspect of the dog. What can they handle? A lot of us have such great intentions with our dog, and it's sad because we have great intentions, and we're like, you know what? It's beautiful weather this weekend. I'm going to take my dog for a hike, and 7 days a week, your dog might sit at home on the couch. And then all of a sudden we decide, let's take the dog on a 5-mile hike where they're scampering over logs and across rocks and doing all sorts of different things, which puts an immense amount of strain on the dog. And this is how a lot of dogs get injuries that require thousands of dollars in surgery and rehabilitation to recover from. And so there's some things that we can do and some approaches that we can take that ultimately, when we do these things, it puts our dog in a much better position for going and doing these activities, and hopefully not getting injured. So I say it in obedience training, and I'd also say it about fitness training that, prevention is where it's at. It's really not about trying to fix things after the fact. So when it comes to prevention, and we have a lot of people that have puppies right now, and a lot of people stuck at home with their puppies, Shannon. So I want to kind of think a little bit about what are some of the things that we can do with puppies to kind of start to build a little bit of fitness into their life, so that hopefully they can get a great introduction to it from a very early age.
Yeah. So people might ask, like, why are puppies different from, adult dogs or anything like that? The reason is because puppies up until 18 months of age, their growth plates aren't fully closed. So we have to be cognizant of that and not overworking their muscles because they aren't fully developed yet. So puppies, you kind of want to take it slow, keep it fun, keep it short, right? So if you're doing sessions with them, keep it about 5 minutes because their brains are going to burst if you do anything more. And it'll just be like Andrew said, working on those foundational skills. So these might kind of sound like obedience, but they will help in training. If you work on some sits, some downs, getting them to target different objects, like if you have a rubber mat or something, get them to touch that, feel different surfaces, because when they get on equipment later on, that'll be helpful. They won't, just get kind of tensed up or scared or anything. They'll be ready to go and jump right in, and socializing them as well to being handled by other people, touching their paw pads, touching their fur, just, making sure that they're comfortable with all of those things, because it will be incorporated in fitness later on. So you set them up for success.
I like to say that advanced skills are basics that you've mastered, and fitness doesn't have to be an advanced skill, but it is a different set of skills. When we're working on obedience, a lot of what it is that we're doing is we're trying to teach calmness. We're trying to teach stableness. And, not that we don't want that in fitness training, but with fitness, what we're trying to do is teach the dog to use specific muscles in a very specific and intentional way. And so I definitely think that, there's a ton of different socialization exercises that we can do to kind of lay the groundwork. And, a lot of people's dogs, we get complaints regularly. When I'm walking my dog down the street, he's afraid of the storm drains. It's a really, really common thing. Now, a storm drain, everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's the little sewer manhole cover, and they're never sitting perfectly flat, right? When you step on them, they always go clink, and they make a little movement. And for the dog, it scares them, right? One event learning experience. They step on it one time, it goes clink. It's a feeling they've never felt before, and all of a sudden the dog hates these things. But through doing fitness, what we do is we do a lot of teaching the dog and teaching the puppy to accept surfaces that are not stable, that may change, that have different textures to them. So some of the fitness toys or exercise tools that we use from FitPaws, shout out to FitPaws, absolutely awesome tool. FitPaws is the primary tool that we use at DogiZone, and some of them have bumps on them, some of them have like grip lines on them, some of them are smooth, but there's a variety of different textures. And so, with these puppies, we can do a lot of getting them used to these different textures, these different I don't know the best way to describe it, but it would be really like the firmnesses of different surfaces, right? I have a client, and this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but I have a client right now. We were trying to teach the dog to jump into his truck, and one of the things that we were finding was, since we were having the dog jump into the crate, there's a bed in the crate, but the dog hadn't really spent a lot of time on the bed. Dog didn't have an issue with the crate, didn't really have a big issue with the truck. It seemed like maybe it was the bed. So, we had to kind of get the dog used to the bed, and then we were able to get the dog into the truck. But by teaching these different surfaces, it really can make a big difference. So, Shannon, any other thoughts around puppies and fitness?
I guess my only thing would be, to be working on those foundational skills and just take it kind of slow as well. If your puppy's uncomfortable with anything, work them through it. Use a lot of food, not a lot of food, but just enough food, to get them through those little tense moments where they might freeze up, act a little nervous around things. Use food to motivate them. Praise is going to be your best friend when you're working through those moments. So.
Well, our producer in the background here, shout out to Matt for being our producer here this evening. You guys can't see him, but he is running the show behind the scenes. Matt, put that dog up. That was the puppy that I was talking about earlier. Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
Look, cutest, one of the cutest dogs I've seen today. Like, I don't know, the dog's got the teddy bear look going on. Anyway, yeah, I think you hit on a point though, Shannon, which will take us into our next topic. You were saying not too much food, right? Not too many treats.
Right.
So let's talk about that, because some of us have some bad habits, right? We're sitting at the dinner table and we're eating our dinner, and we go, one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. You all know who I'm talking about. Some of you know exactly who I'm talking about. You might be one of them. No, I've actually been really good about that. I'm a good dog trainer there. My dogs don't eat table scraps very often.
Good job, Joe.
So we got a question here of what is your dog's favorite treats or food? Yeah, curious to know, because look, folks, our new space next door is not too far away from opening up. We'd like it to be open yesterday, to be quite frank with you, but we're getting there, and we'd love to know what you're feeding your dog, because that way we can carry it for you and hopefully make one less trip out of your day. So anyways, but let's get into some weight loss tips here. I'll stop going on the tangents here. So Shannon, talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things what are the most common things that you recommend people to start off with for kind of ways to keep the weight off their pets?
Yeah, sure. So the main thing is the food, right? So even with people, we have to watch what we're eating before we could even get to the exercise portion. So that's going to be limiting the amount of treats, that those are the things that you're giving them outside of their regularly scheduled meals, and can kind of concise and condense what you're giving them. So we suggest about 15 to 20 treats outside of that. And there's going to be tiny little bite-sized pieces that you're giving them. And trust me, you're not, skimping on them or anything. They will be fine. Okay. And they'll make it through whatever session you're doing with just that little bit. But we suggest that amount. And if you're looking for treat suggestions or anything, we really suggest, low fat, low carb treats. Right. So that could be freeze dry, beef, lamb lung. That's one ingredient, which is really good. Even green beans. If you love feeding your dog human food, green beans are great. Okay. Carrots, even my dog loves carrots. Okay. The crunch is so satisfying to them. They won't even miss the other, fat-filled stuff. Okay. And then another thing will be giving your dog about 30 to 45 minutes of exercise per day. And that can be playing fetch. Don't take the fun out of this. Okay. If they really love running for that ball, throw the ball for them. All right. You can play recall games, calling your dog to you. Okay. Build on that obedience, even in fitness. Get them to run across the room to you. Work on things like that. Those long walks are still helpful. And if you decide, you want to splurge on your dog, get them a doggy treadmill. Put them on there, run them for about 10 minutes. Trust me, they'll be wiped out. All right. And the last thing is going to be, as much as we want them, if your dog has a little extra pounds, you want them to lose weight, focus on also strengthening those muscles too, because that'll help. Once they, gain some weight, it's a lot of stress on the muscles. So while you're, focused on cutting back, losing weight, also focus on the strengthening portion as well.
You hit on some really great points there, Shannon. And as you were talking, I was just having like explosions in my head of just like, oh my gosh, I have this thought. So Shannon, in terms of, feeding your dog, mm-hmm. and you know where I'm going with this. Should you feed your dog what the bag of food says you should feed your dog?
No.
No. So yeah, it's something that we do need to pay attention to, because many of us decide how much we're going to feed our dog based on what the bag of food says. Folks, we do need to remember that there is marketing probably going on there. We ultimately really need to be looking at what is the calorie intake that our dog needs. Right. And I'm not going to get all scientific on you all right now. Don't you worry. I won't do that to you. But what I will say is that if you're not sure how much you should be feeding your dog, I would do one of two things. I would, if you're going in to see your doctor for your dog soon, your senior vet, talk to them about it and say, based on my dog's activity level, his breed, what do you think I should be feeding? And they can actually help you to calculate how many kcals your dog should be taking in each day. That's something that we can also do as well with you. If you come in for a fitness evaluation in the future, that's something that we'll be able to assist with in making sure that you are on the right feeding schedule for your dog and not giving them too much. Because it's really easy to just take that scoop of dog food. And I don't know, I'm just curious if either of you do this. When I feed my dogs, like I usually feed them a cup and a half. Okay. Almost all of my dogs get 1.5 cups of food. But when I do my 1 cup scoop, it's big. It's like, it's a mound.
Yeah, a mound on it.
Mound. Yeah. Like for whatever reason, that first scoop, I don't ever want to feel like I'm giving them a small first scoop. I want to make sure that they've gotten a good scoop, but it's always way more than it needs to be. Right. So, you know, that being said, that adds up over time, and it does take a toll on the dogs over time having too much food. Because even if your dog's not overweight, what else is happening by taking in too much food is their system is constantly working to get this stuff out of them. They're probably going to the bathroom more than they necessarily need to, and you're probably putting a lot more strain on their GI system than is necessary. So food for thought. But anyways, I think, you know, there's a lot of us that aren't 100% clear on if our dog is physically fit or not. So I think we referred to this in our last Ask the Trainers call. So you can always go back and check that out, or I'll give you the time, and you can just search on Google the Purina Body Score condition chart, and that will show you body scoring based on different shapes, and it'll help you to identify where your dog is at on that chart. And I tell you, every single one of you who's on here right now, you do yourself a big favor and do your dog a big favor, and make sure that you look at that before the end of the night. Just see where you're at, right? At bare minimum, just see where you're at. Because if you don't know where you're at, you don't know where you need to go. And if you don't know where you need to go, that means you're not doing anything at all. And I know that that wouldn't make you or your dog happy. So just do yourself a favor. It'll take you 2 seconds. We're talking puppies here. And then we kind of, you know, I go off on tangents.
No way.
I can't help it. My brain just doesn't stop sometimes. But that being said, I do want to get into some, we got another question. How many of you have pandemic puppies? Can I just see some? Shannon, you do have a pandemic puppy.
Yep.
Funny. I didn't even think about that, but you
True
did.
Story.
Got her right at the start of everything.
Did you do a rescue?
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome. How many of you have pandemic puppies? Go ahead and jump into the comments and send us a message. And don't have shame. We love to hear about new puppies. Let's see how many we get here. And while that's going on, we'll talk about problem prevention for puppies. So Jessica, Master Trainer Jessica.
Oh no, I don't have that title yet, Mr. Andrew.
I know it's not a real thing. It's not a real title. It's not a real title, folks. But she is very good.
Thank you.
We adopted Aspen in September from Peter and Friends. Nice. Awesome. Sean, looks like you have 3 dogs too. That's really cool. I love seeing people with multiple dogs. When I see people with multiple dogs, you know what the first thing is that comes to mind for me?
What's that?
Probably a good dog owner. Because if you have one dog and they're really poorly behaved, you don't get a second dog, usually, unless you're crazy. And then if you get the third one, yeah, you usually got something good going on there. So I love seeing people with multiple dogs. I know the dogs are happier in those houses, getting to be with other dogs.
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. I was talking to somebody the other day about how having puppies in the house really is good for these older dogs. Really good for them.
I agree. Even though we didn't, obviously we got Buck, 3 years ago, almost, Andrew. He's going to be 4 this year. Once we brought him into the house, it was a huge difference with Raven, especially after losing Big Gunner. It was really helpful, and it brought out a different light in her, which I just thought was great.
Yeah, it's I think that it's really interesting, and I try not to be too foo-foo about things, but there's like the saying of like, show me who your friends are, show you who you are, whatever. It's like what you're in proximity to in life has a pretty big impact on you. And it's really cool to me, right? That dogs, like taking an older dog and just having a younger dog in their presence, that dog's happier.
Yeah.
That dog lives longer. It's like proven.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. It's pretty darn cool. So anyways, some of you are thinking I should be getting a second dog now. Maybe not. But anyways, well, Jessica, let's talk a little bit about problem prevention. We were talking a lot of fitness here. Off that. I think it ties directly into problem prevention. So why don't you give us your 411 on problem prevention with puppies? What does it start with?
Well, really what it starts with, Andrew, is thinking about how we live properly with the dogs. And I know I'm probably going to sound like repeat from some of the other calls before, but when we have to teach the dog how to live appropriately in our homes, we want to get the 3 pillars of management. And I will say them, but if anybody who comes to DogiZone wants to put it in the chat as well, go ahead and do it. There's 3 things. We want to practice containment. We want to practice leash management, but then we also want to practice training. Those are the 3 things that you want to make sure that you're doing with the dog so you can, 1, control the household a little bit. That's going to help initially with preventing problems. But I find that when problems arise, we have to look like what would be those problems. Okay. Is it jumping? Is it chewing on things? Is it biting? Is it too many zoomies in the house? Like I could go on and on about the things, right? So we have to look, if we're stimulating the dogs appropriately on a daily basis. Okay. And that's not just physical stimulation, which I know is really important with fitness. We just talked about it with puppies, but it's also the mental stimulation. Early on in my training, when I was learning from you and George, like the big thing that always stuck with me is a tired dog is a good dog. Okay. Tired dogs don't get into things. So when we want to be able to relax with the dogs, we have to look at what their not just physical outlet is, but that mental outlet as well.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think the exercise piece with it being physical and mental is really important. And the mental exercise, I mean, really with a young puppy. And when I think about young puppies, I'm thinking dogs 5 months, 6 months and up. Their attention span really for a training session is 5 minutes at a time. And that could be 5 minutes and then a 5-minute break and then maybe another 5 minutes again. But that's still a lot. And that is not necessarily enough to put the dog into a emotional or physical state, right? But it does satisfy that dog's need to work.
Right.
Okay. So that is in almost every single dog that lives on this planet, right? There's a desire to work. There's a desire to do. Okay. And that's why we love our dogs so much, is they just have so much desire. And so thinking about the physical aspect of it, we talk about young dogs. What is the proper amount of exercise that we should really be giving to these younger dogs? Well, I think there's a very, very wide range here. I mean, of course, when we have a Great Dane, a Border Collie, and a Shih Tzu, there's very different requirements.
Absolutely.
And some people would think that the Great Dane, right, bigger dog, is going to need the most amount of exercise and activity, which is a myth. It is totally off base. They're couch potatoes, right? They're not the type of dog that needs a massive amount of exercise. But Jessica, maybe talk about, how much for some of these young puppies physical, how would you be planning out their day and getting them the exercise they need?
Yeah, I know. And I'll just say what I've done with our puppies that we've brought into the house and what we recommend to guests and students coming in through our programs is that we want to be able to have periods of work, periods of exercise, periods of play, and breaking that up into different subsets. So it's not all in one. I will tend to, if bringing a puppy into the house, doing maybe 8 to 10, 15 minutes tops of like playtime or exercise in bits and pieces, but making sure I'm doing that multiple times throughout the day, whether it's, at an elimination break or if we're out on a walk, all of those things are considered physical activities for the dog. I think the most important thing to remember, just like with us as humans, physical conditioning builds more stamina. And we don't want to create a dog that has to take a half hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes to exhaust themselves. So I'll tend to recommend 10 to 15 minutes kind of at a time, especially for young puppies, because they can't withstand a 30 to 40 minute play or romp around session.
Well, and on top of them not being physically in the position to do a 45-minute long session, there's also just the ability to focus.
Yeah. But exercising, I mean, if you think about it, like, what are the different ways that you can exercise a puppy's brain? I mean, the first thing that always comes to my mind is obedience training. But obedience training with a puppy's not necessarily going to be the same thing as with a 5, 6, 7, 8-month-old dog. As a puppy, 8 to 20 weeks, we're going to be doing lots of socialization exercise. A lot of the things that Shannon mentioned when she was talking about the fitness with the puppies is doing object socialization, especially sounds, noises, surfaces, textures, get them out in the rain. All of those things are kind of like social experiences for the dogs that it's an exercise, but with obedience training, you can work on sit and wait and down. And, I don't want to say like correcting the dog's mistakes, because I don't think it's fair to correct a puppy if he doesn't know what's right, but we guide them to the right thing. And if we praise them for the right behavior, Andrew, every single time, that is a number one best way, I feel, to stimulate the dog's brain.
Yep.
When you mark a behavior with yes, when you toss them that treat, when you give them that little ear scratch and belly rub, they're like, absolutely.
That's awesome. Matt, our producer here, had popped up a question about how do you exercise your dog? And looks like we have somebody who walks their dog, and one long walk and several short ones, few sessions of playtime in the house, and a few training drills. That's awesome.
Good job, Leo.
Very good. And thank you for the card the other day. Super sweet. It was very nice to
you.
Yeah, loved it. And I'll share for me. One of the things that I used to love doing, I used to go to the local school with my dad when I got my first dog, and we would go to the soccer field. And what we would do is one of us would go to one goalpost and the other one would go to the other goalpost. And we would put Tanner, who was my dog at the time, in a sit. And one of us would stand there next to him. And he was normally off leash when we did this. In the beginning, he wasn't. We had to, hold on to the leash. And, I wasn't a dog trainer then, right? I was getting my dog trained by somebody else at that point. But we would put him in a sit. And then one of us would go to the other side of the field and we would tell him, come. And he would haul butt, right? He would go as fast as he could to get to the other side. And he would be so happy when he got there. And so it was cool because, I love watching my dogs run.
Yep.
To me, there's nothing more enjoyable in life than seeing a dog run full speed and just going all out. It's a beautiful thing. I just love it. And that's part of why I love dogs, right? But we would do that back and forth, and we would probably do it 10 or 15 times. By the time we got to the probably 10th recall, Tanner was looking at us like,
I'm done.
Are we really doing this again? But, again, I think that it was a great way to exercise them. So we have Lisa, he says, we're now going to the fenced-in high school tennis courts and practicing stay and recall and fetch with the long lead. That is awesome. Awesome. You gotta be creative, folks. You got to find the right places, the right environments to do it where it's safe. Another thing that I did was up and down the stairs. We would do too. But be careful, be careful with that. That could get dangerous if you're not thinking through all the pieces to that.
Yeah. Andrew, I was thinking about something else that I really enjoyed doing with Buck when he was a puppy. Being able to shape a really good like heel position with him. I would walk slow, almost like slow motion, almost to the point that he would want to sit when doing that, because and you think about it, like getting him to walk slowly next to me, that is another brain stimulating exercise. Like the slower you walk, the more he has to pay attention to what he's doing. Power walking, though, I found like gave him more energy. So when I'd like put a hitch in my giddy up and I would run a little bit, he's like, I am on fire. And I'm like, whoa, 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 bring it down.
So while you're talking here, it made me think of an exercise for folks to try at home with their dog. If you have a dog that walks pretty well on the leash and you want to practice that walking on the leash, and you also want to practice a fitness exercise at home, go find a ladder. Go find a ladder in your house and practice walking your dog or heeling your dog through the ladder, so that they have to lift up their legs higher, which is a great workout for them. It helps improve their proprioception and ultimately is a great exercise, and also helps the dog to learn to focus on you while there's obstacles in their way. So you need a big ladder. I mean, if you got a 40-foot ladder, man, you're going to get some real practice in. But you can just do a 6-foot ladder and just lay it on the ground, and then walk your dog up to it. See, a lot of the things that you're going to see with your dogs, a lot of them aren't even going to go near the ladder.
Yep.
You're going to heel them up to it, or you're going to let's go them up to it, and they're going to get there and they're going to pump the brakes.
Yep.
You're going to have to work through that.
Yeah.
How would you work through that if you have a dog that? Jessica, what would be your approach? I'm curious because you and I have never talked about this before.
No, we haven't talked about this, but I experienced it with my own dog, because it was like one of those big clunky like metal ladders. So naturally, I had to even get Buck used to like the agility equipment with that. So that was all in itself. But we would just go over. I would start with recalling him over the short side of it. And then eventually I got him to, because he's always been really good with his like stop in motion, like a good stay in motion. So I timed it to get him to stop like mid jump. And then from there, it was just like walking over it. And then to the point to where he was being able to go forward with it. Now, the challenge that I found though, Andrew, was getting him to go backwards.
Of course.
It was the backwards one. Because his legs are only about this big, but I will say, lots of high value treats, lots of happy praise when he made the attempt of doing it, which was good all in itself.
There you go. Yeah, there's, you can do this a lot of different ways. One of the things that, the way that I did it when I was teaching agility was very different than how I would do it with an obedience dog, because when I'm training a dog for obedience and I'm walking them through a ladder, I want the dog to maintain control, focused on me, versus in an agility scenario, the dog needs to work much more independently from me, needs to go a lot faster, and it's just a different type of scenario. Right. And so in an agility setting, the way that I would start this off is I would actually place food in between each rung of the ladder. And it would be me just taking the dog and pointing that piece of food out. They eat it. And I walk them away. I bring them back up. I do that again. And eventually they start walking in and stepping into that first ring, then the second rung, then the third. And eventually they're starting to walk through that. And I'm putting the treats intermittently through it so that they might get a reward at the first rung, the third rung, and the 12th rung. And eventually the 6th and the 12th, and then the 12th. And then eventually they're just getting paid for running through the ladder. Or walking through the ladder. So it's different environments, different type of scenario. But either way, it's a way that you can utilize a ladder, and it can be a fun exercise. Elizabeth Jacob says we also work with the ladder almost daily. Jessica, there you go. Very good. Very good.
I may have encouraged. Yeah. Lizzie has a great. Andrew, if you've never met Jacques, the Wheaton Terrier,
I'm pretty sure I was recently there for training camp. Yeah.
A little while back, it was sometime last year, and she has just done a fantastic job with this puppy, and she's very, just like a lot of our clients, like very dedicated, very willing and wanting to learn, and always looking how to better exercise mentally and physically stimulate her dog. So I just like shout out to her, all the clients that are on the calls, but she's like, what's another thing I can do? And I was like, well, confidence building can be ladder, so we talked about it one day after class, and super excited.
So make sure that you all subscribe to DogiZone's YouTube channel for more doggy brain food. So for those of you that want to improve your doggy brain and just be a little bit more doggy savvy is the word I was looking for there.
Doggy brain.
Check it out. Look, I had a great time on here tonight, and Shannon was with us, which is awesome. Super happy to have you on here.
Me too, Shannon. Awesome. I know I saw you all day today, but it was just another like really good experience to have you on the call with us.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Jessica. And let's give a big shout out to our producer, Mr. Matthew, for helping us to pull off this evening and getting a few more fun things for you all to check out while we're going through here. And I'm looking forward to next month because, well, we have more surprises for you next month. And for those of you that are training with us, we look forward to seeing you in classes soon. For those of you that aren't or that need help with your dog, we're here for you anytime. You know where to find us. Please be safe, folks. I know that this pandemic thing has really just been a huge nightmare for a lot of us. And so I just want to just tell all of our fans that we are super grateful for all of you who are watching and who've been bringing your dogs to us. Obviously, there's nothing more that I can say. We just greatly appreciate everything that you all have done to support us as a company. And we look forward to working with you all more in the future. A better than great night, folks. We'll see you soon.